Hey. 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 What's up? Changelog. We no longer have a microphone over here. Last video the microphone was there but wasn't actually plugged in. It was this handy lavalier mic. I literally bought it off of Amazon for like $60. I don't know. I kid you not, the story with that mic was that I bought it 4 years ago after I searched cheapest microphone, and I found this video from Andrew Huang comparing like the most expensive to the least expensive microphones, and I did what any reasonable person would do getting into audio, and I bought the cheapest microphone. As much as it was kind of a meme buying a $20 microphone, it was a very interesting experience learning how to make a not great microphone sound pretty alright. The life of a post-production audio boy. Me at the movie set like, alright boys, take 20. This is the mic that I bought forever many years ago. The mic stand, which was actually more expensive than that, actually broke. So the mic actually works. And I don't know, maybe I'm gonna use it in a baseball match or something, who knows. I've had this video in my mind for a while because I think it's a pretty interesting topic, and also in general I just enjoy going over and archiving history. And so for today's video I wanted to talk about the deleted and pulled releases of a Monstercat. In the title you're probably seeing the words Tristam and Haywire. No, it's not clickbait. It is a bit of a more niche topic, but I think it would be very interesting to cover. Also, I forgot to mention that TV is plugged into my computer. If you guys want, I could put like the freaking DVD logo bouncing in the background or something. But also because of the way that my camera is focusing to me right now, you can't really see what's going on, but it's a cute little doggy animation with like some rain and some flower petals. It looks very nice. Before I go any further, subscribe. I'm waiting. You did it? You're lying to me, I know, but it's okay. We'll keep going anyways. Let's start off with some of the hallmarks. Overwork, house. Not a house song, it was electro, but it was a very popular song at the time. It was made by Overwork, featuring Nick Cannon. I'm sorry, not Nick Cannon, Nick Niken. House by Overwork was released in 2012 as part of the 007 compilation. It did very well and I think was one of the more popular tracks on the label. In 2015, however, Overwork and I guess his management decided that he wanted to be a fully independent artist. And to do that, you can't really claim yourself as completely independent if you have music on a label that would make you not independent. I think there could be an argument made as to whether or not having a song on a record label would ruin your title as an independent artist. But with that said, I suppose it does come down to branding, and for that reason, Monstercat agreed to pull down the release. It was later swapped with Ampersand by Solero and Stephen Walking, which was originally part of an EDM Spotlight compilation. Later it was signed and swapped in instead. The removal of House by Overwork was, I would say, one of the most prolific removals and swaps of Monstercat releases, mainly for the reason that I think most people following the label don't necessarily understand why somebody would do that. There isn't necessarily a downside to keeping a release on a label. That being said, Monstercat being an indie label, I think there's sort of a barrier between what a lot of fans and people in the music industry are generally aware of and what is something that happens very often in the music industry. However, that'll be something that I'm going to go a bit more into detail later on in the video. For now, I'm going to talk about the second most prolific removal of music, which was Archie's Famous. Archie Famous is one of two tracks that was at some point officially released on the label and then was taken down and I guess, for lack of better words, deleted. The main story behind Archie's Famous is that back when it was released, back in production, Archie was making a track titled Famous with another producer, Jacob. At some point during the production, Jacob and his management decided to pull out, and Archie continued to work on the project and eventually released it on Monstercat. The track did very well, amassing a lot of views, but then a few days later, Jacob and his management, seeing how well it was doing, decided to, for a lack of better words, sue. I don't actually know if they did sue, but it was sort of the terminology that was used. Jacob and his management were asking for a share of the revenue that was being made from the track, and as well for their name to be put on the track. Archie, not wanting anything to do with it, and Monstercat, not wanting anything to do with it, decided to pull the release off of the label for them to deal it outside. From that point on, Archie has not seen anything close to the Monstercat label. It was eventually uploaded for free download and for free streaming, and I believe there was some murmurings about a VIP. I don't know if anything ever really came about that. The success of Famous was not necessarily a surprising one, and it was only specifically because it was released back in 2013 when 012 was released, and that was one of the biggest albums that had ever been released, specifically with Tristam and Bracken's Flight. Listening back to Famous, I do think it is a rather unfortunate turn of events that came out. I think it'd be really cool if Archie would be given an opportunity to make a comeback with their own music, but that being said, it's not looking very likely for him. On the topic of deleted releases, let's talk about Laser's Set to Kill. Laser Set to Kill was released back in 2011 by Jabro, or so that's what the government wants you to think. Back in 2011. The reason the track was pulled off of the label was because, well, it wasn't. Back in 2011, a dubstep track was uploaded to the channel with a rap that was featured by Jabro. What came about of it was it turned out that the track was basically stolen. Jabro, the original artist that was credited for creating the track, was actually the rapper on the track, but the instrumental underneath it was not by Jabro, but instead by two artists, Subantics and Elliot Mars. Considering the time that the label has existed for, I do find it rather surprising that in its entire existence and extensive catalog, the number of instances of deleted tracks that were officially released is actually quite small. Following the discovery of this, the release was promptly deleted from their discography and from their catalog. Apparently since then, Jabro has now properly credited the song to being a rap cover of the original track, but is no longer available on Monstercat. Before I go on to talk about the final main topic, that being Tristam and Haywire, I want to quickly talk about deleted promos. I feel like somebody's already commenting, Duality, you forgot the most important part, and that's the deleted promos. The only reason I haven't really gone into that much detail with the deleted promos is because they weren't never officially released, but I will go over them pretty quickly, seeing as at the time that I started following the label in 2014, there were still a lot of them. I'm going to put a list over here which shows every single deleted promo that was unofficially part of the label or on the channel at one point. But off the top of my head, there are two deleted promos that I can remember, that being an Afixa remix of a Gareth Emery track and a Project 46 remix of What Is Love. Monstercat back then, probably to either cross promote or to help their roster grow a bit more of an audience, at the time used to upload unofficial releases or unofficial remixes that were not on the label. As such, they were labeled as promos and could be streamed on the label. I think at some point, as the label continued to age, they slowly deleted these promos over time, but not all of them are deleted. Specifically, I think the only track that is still on the label that is not necessarily a release is Matt Duke's Trainer Battle. It is an interesting track, and it's probably still there because it's one of the oldest and most popular videos on Monstercat. While there are a couple of unofficial releases on the YouTube channel, such as KJ Swaka's drum cover of Watch Out, and a couple acoustics here and there that are YouTube exclusive, Trainer Battle is unique in that it is not a cover, it is not a remix, and is essentially an original off-label track that Monstercat has yet to remove. There's always been a lot of discussion and murmurings of when that's going to happen, but as of right now, it doesn't seem like that is going to be the case. A quick aside, but I remember when Gareth Emery were looking for people to remix their track Saving Light, I was hoping that they would get Afixa only because I thought it would be a really cool callback to when Afixa had their Gareth Emery remix promo on Monstercat. That never ended up happening, but I thought it would have been really cool. Anyways, let's talk about Tristam and Haywire. Tristam and Haywire, the two heavyweights of the label with rather extensive discographies, no longer have their music on Monstercat. Not 100% at least. Depending on where you look, you might have seen this name, Create Music Group. About a year or two ago, Haywyre and Tristam, for lack of better words, have started pulling their releases from Monstercat and transferring them over to Create Music Group. You can find this name simply by going to a random YouTube music video, scrolling down, and seeing the copyright information of the track. No longer is there Monstercat as a typical track would normally have, and you see Create Music Group. This was first spotted with Tristam's older music. As one might have noticed, a lot of their releases started being under the alias Matzer, which is backwards for Tristam, and a lot of the older album covers have started having this new stylized branding to them. As time went on, they slowly went on to newer and newer releases until at this point, essentially the entire Tristam discography is now no longer officially under the copyright hold of Monstercat. If you go to the Monstercat website and you search either of those two names, you will see that some of the releases are on there, but you won't find individual pages for each track. Most of what is left available to stream is from compilations, which could be indicative of the fact that, something in the copyright allows them to still have those tracks in compilations. But for the time being, the single release of each song or of each EP/LP is no longer under Monstercat's domain. And this is very obvious if you're looking for Haywyre's Part 1 LP. It is no longer completely on Monstercat, and now only available to stream if you either go to Haywyre's SoundCloud or perhaps YouTube or Spotify. It is an unfortunate blow because that does mean that no longer can Monstercat use their music in their own mixes, in their own promotion, or for licensing. While we've been seeing a lot of huge moves made by the record label to include music from artists in games such as Rocket League, Fortnite, and in different shows, radio stations, etc., it is unlikely that you will see those type of placements anymore for Haywyre and Tristam, at least from them. But this is not surprising. The movement of copyright between different copyright holders is a natural part of the music ecosystem. And I think what a lot of casual listeners don't necessarily understand is that most contracts are never 100%. And that is a good thing. If Nitrofun signed a Monstercat song back when they were 14 and decided they wanted to pull it, I think it would be an absolutely low blow if for the rest of their life they were no longer allowed to pull their music from Monstercat. While contracts should be upheld, of course, morally as a thing, but also legality is. At the end of the day, I think it is a very good standard to allow artists to eventually ebb and flow between whether or not they want their music to stay on the label or to move it about. Monstercat started from this indie label, and I think one of the biggest things about having humble beginnings is that most people don't necessarily think to the future. We have hit 1 decade with Monstercat, and that means that we might see this happening a lot more often. While most contracts are kept quiet, so we don't necessarily know, how much people are getting within splits, royalties, or even how long the music will stay on the label, what I think is going to have to become a reality that people will face is that Tristam and Haywire are simply the first steps to what we might see more often from other artists. I feel like the discussion of Monstercat as an indie label is one that I continuously bring up, and I think for a rightful reason so. Monstercat, in my eyes, doesn't necessarily feel like an indie label anymore. They are a label that is not only being held at the industry standard, but is trying to push industry standards. And for that reason, I think it is something that a lot of people who might be more casual are going to have to start being aware of with things that are happening with artists. Now, am I trying to scare you guys? Am I going to say all of Monstercat's old releases are probably going to disappear from the label? Probably not. But that being said, as Monstercat is starting to move into the mainstream, I feel like copyright and contracts expiring is going to be a topic of discussion that we're going to be seeing a lot more of. While it is unfortunate that some of my favorite songs are no longer going to be on Monstercat, I feel very comfortable about the fact that I know that I can still listen to these songs outside of the label. And I feel like that is something that a lot of people have started to come to terms with. Because while artists move between labels, the safest way of keeping up to date is by just following the artists that you like and enjoy. To me, the biggest downside from all this is just that I can't download their music for free anymore. And so if you happen to delete it, you can no longer get it for free under their subscription service or whatever. But that being said, I'm sure there's always a bunch of different ways that you can get the music that you really want. But yeah, anyways, I thought this would be a rather interesting topic. As I mentioned before, I feel like this is one of those topics that more casual people might not be as interested or as knowledgeable on the topic. Because yeah, your favorite songs from Tristam and Haywire from the Monstercat ages, they're not going away. I have a huge doubt that they're going to be deleted. But if you are worried about archiving history, I would definitely recommend, maybe downloading some of your favorite music if you're able to. That said, if it's suddenly no longer on your favorite label, that's probably why. At the end of the day, artists will ebb and flow, and I think that is a part of a healthy music industry. Anyways, that's all for me. It's currently the middle of August, and I'm wearing the sweater, and I wish I took it off, but at some point in the middle of the video, I decided to push through it. I'm getting kind of sweaty. Let me know what you guys thought of the video. Comment down below, whatever. Oh, and let me know what you guys want to see on the TV, even though you can't really see it, but I'll try my best. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.